Yes, I think to myself, Western man has truly given himself up to the worship of the Dajjal. He has long ago lost all innocence, all inner integration with nature. Life has become a puzzle to him. He is skeptical, and therefore isolated from his brother and lonely within himself. In order not to perish in this loneliness, he must endeavor to dominate life by outward means. The fact of being alive can, by itself, no longer give him inner security. He must always wrestle for it with pain, from moment to new moment, because he has lost all metaphysical orientation and has decided to do without it. He must continuously invent for himself mechanical allies, and thus the furious, desperate drive of his technique. He invents every day new machines and gives each of them something of his soul to make them fight for his existence. That they do indeed, but at the same time they create for him ever new needs, new dangers, new fears, and an unquenchable thirst for newer, yet artificial allies. His soul loses itself in the ever bolder, ever more fantastic, ever more powerful wheelwork of the creative machine, and the machine loses its true purpose, to be a protector and enricher of human life, and evolves into a deity in its own right, a devouring Moloch of steel. The priests and preachers of this insatiable deity do not seem to be aware that the rapidity of modern technical progress is a result not only of a positive growth of knowledge, but also of spiritual despair, and that the grand material achievements in the light of which Western man proclaims his will to attain to mastery over nature are, in their innermost, of a defensive character. Behind their shining facades lurks the fear of the unknown. Western civilization has not been able to strike a harmonious balance between man's bodily and social needs and his spiritual cravings. It has abandoned its erstwhile religious ethics without being able to produce out of itself any other moral system, however theoretical, that would commend itself to reason. Despite all its advances in education, it has not been able to overcome man's stupid readiness to fall a prey to any slogan, however absurd, which clever demagogues think fit to invent. It has raised the techniques of organization to a fine art, and nevertheless the nations of the West daily demonstrate their utter inability to control the forces which their scientists have brought into being, and have now reached a stage where apparently unbounded scientific possibilities go hand in hand with worldwide chaos. Lacking all truly religious orientation, the Westerner cannot morally benefit by the light of the knowledge which his undoubtedly great science is shedding. To him might be applied the words of the Quran. Their parable is the parable of people who lit a fire, but when it had shed its light around them, God took away their light and left them in darkness in which they cannot see, deaf, dumb, blind, and yet they do not turn back. And yet, in the arrogance of their blindness, the people of the West are convinced that it is their civilization that will bring light and happiness to the world. In the 18th and 19th centuries, they thought of spreading the gospel of Christianity all over the world. But now that their religious ardor has cooled so much that they consider religion no more than soothing background music, allowed to accompany, but not to influence real life. They have begun to spread instead the materialistic gospel of the Western way of life, the belief that all human problems can be solved in factories, laboratories, and on the desks of statisticians. And thus, the Dajjal has come into his own.